everyone. Delighted to be here. My name is Clodagh Higgins. I work with a company called the Grow It Group, and I also have a podcast called Agency Life. And on this talk today, I'm going to be sharing why I think a podcast is better than a website for marketing your business. I've got a big jam-packed agenda here. I'm just going to talk a little bit about who I am. So why would you listen to me? I'm going to give you 8 reasons to support my statement. And I'm going to show you, you can do this too, and some of the reasons why you should. So who am I? I am a reformed digital agency owner and now I'm a business coach, and I help marketing agencies all around the world to grow and scale. I've worked with over 500 of them over the past few years. I'm the author of a book called A Happy, Healthy Digital Agency, and I have my own podcast called Agency Life, where I talk to other agency owners about their business and share some real stories, real advice. I've been podcasting since I think 2016. So would you call me a veteran? Maybe. I've also created a community called Revcasters, where we actually help other podcasters to generate revenue and create structure around their podcast and make them really successful for them. The reason I'm flexing as well is I'm actually a powerlifter. I'm currently not competing due to the restrictions, but hopefully when the competitions open back up, I'll get back out there. I've got a national record and a world record as well. You can ask me about that anytime. So if you are thinking about starting a podcast this year, this is the place, or you are actually want to re-energize or reinvigorate, this is the place to be. That's what I'm going to talk about. But have you got this feeling that you've missed the boat? Well, I'm here to tell you that you have not. It's not too late. Listeners are actually growing in this space. People are listening to podcasts, and it's gone up over 50% in the last 5 years. Also, the ad spend is going up here as well. Lots of companies are choosing to invest with podcasts to get in front of the audience that you are speaking to. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of this. Why a podcast, I think, is better than a website for your marketing. Not that you wouldn't have a website as well, but you know what I'm talking about. So reason number 1 is it does create a new marketing channel for your business. Audio is a really great way of connecting with your current clients and your future prospects. So if you would think about it, it's like you've got your traditional way of marketing, you've got your social media, you've got all your traditional, maybe you're doing print, maybe you're doing TV, maybe you are doing a bit of radio already, you're hitting the audio. But when it comes to having a conversation, there's a real growing trend for people to listen and to connect with you and to spend time really understanding who you are, who your audience is, what your industry is like. And it's a really great new channel that you can open up for your business. The second reason is that if you record it in video, you can expand that into a YouTube channel. So if you simply record in Zoom, that's all you've got to do, like I'm doing here right now. Not only does it help improve the communication that you would have with your guest, you can see their body language, you can see their eye movements, you can see if they actually start to talk about something and they kind of are maybe drifting away or flinching or smirking. You can actually dig in and go, tell me more about that. So it really helps you have a better conversation with your guest. But also, after you do the audio and that goes off to iTunes, to Spotify, to all those platforms, you can take the video, tidy it up, get it ready, and post it onto YouTube. And then people who are looking for your business, your service, your industry, they'll come across that video, and that widens your audience. You can also take those videos and chop them up into little social media bites, and you can start to promote them online. If you get good numbers, this is another thing, it could add additional revenue, like maybe ad revenue to your business, and who knows what opportunities it could open up. the third reason. You have an endless supply of evergreen content. We all know these days it can be really difficult to come up with content ideas for your business. And if you record it audio and video, like I said, you've got those snippets that you can put out. You're going to get gems of material. You're going to put that out on social media. Conversations I have had in 2016 are still relevant today to the audience that I work with, and it will be the same in your business too. You can use transcripts of the show. You can take that audio and put them into blog posts. They could be created into articles. They can be created into ebooks, like, maybe your top tips for the past few podcasts from a certain type of person, a certain geography. Endless ideas when it comes to evergreen content. You combine that with a solid SEO strategy so that you would actually have people searching on Google for keywords that are specifically related to your business, your industry. Those transcripts can actually bring you links back to your website, back to your podcast. So again, look, I'm not saying websites are at the end of them, but nothing farther. It's about complementing a podcast and a website together. Reason number 4. You can showcase your expertise. In between interviewing guests on your show, you could actually take some topics and do solo episodes. So you can actually share your thoughts. So for example, the way I would do this is during the calls that I would have with clients that I work with in between my podcasts, topics will come up and I will actually take that and actually give advice on a solo episode. It could be like a 15-minute or 20-minute episode. Now, again, I use the power of video on these. I don't normally do the video leave the camera on. I might just put a deck together with some bullet points, and then again I will record the audio. That solo episode goes out on a podcast, and the video I will put up to YouTube and use all the keywords that people would be searching for that episode. It's also really good that you will be able to showcase your expertise by being a guest on other people's podcasts. This is something nobody ever told me. Once you have a podcast, you actually get invited to other people's podcasts. And that is a great way of widening your audience and expanding out your reach to other different people that you might not have met before, like virtual networking. And who knows, we all need to figure out how to do that these days as we're on a virtual conference. Reason number 5. Strengthen your relationship with your existing clients. Clients love to be a case study. They love to give testimonials. They love to be highlighted on your website. So what even better that you could actually interview them about what was the problem that they had before they started working with your business. Why did they choose you out of all the businesses that they had a choice from? And what did you work on together? And they just love this. They can put it on their social media platforms. They can promote it out to their prospects and clients. It's great PR. It's great for strengthening the relationships. And it really builds rapport. And it goes way beyond more than just a standard written case study. You can do it in person, when we're all allowed to move around. You could go to their office and bring your recording equipment or ask them to come to yours. Maybe take them out for lunch afterwards to say thank you. So that will strengthen your relationships with your existing clients. Reason number 6. You can attract great talent to work in your business. And we all know recruitment can be really challenging. I hear it all the time from business owners, how hard it is to get good fit people to work in the business. If you are talking about your business and you have clients on there, you've got industry peers, and there's also nothing stopping you from putting in at the end of each episode a link to your recruitment page, which, by the way, you should have. And if you need a hand with that, you can let me know, because I know how to do that for businesses too. But you can say, we're hiring at the moment. Check out our website for more information. And now you've actually built a funnel of people who are listening in the industry who are curious about what you are talking about are getting to know you in a really cool way, and then they know that they can apply to work in your business. It's a pretty cool way to get new people, and it's your platform. It's up to you what you advertise and what you talk about. You can talk about new products and services. You can talk about clients that you want to work with. You can highlight people at the end and start to build that relationships with prospective people to work in the company and future prospects. Reason number 7. You can authentically connect with your audience. It's just such a powerful tool to actually have somebody listening to you, ask questions from your audience member, ask questions from your guests, ask the audience to send you ideas for people that they'd like to hear on the show. So that gives you a really good idea of what they're interested in and what topics they're interested in. It's such a great way to connect with people. It's really, really powerful. 35% of people listen to a podcast, which can be up to an hour long. Now, when was the last time a potential client spent over an hour on your website? Reading everything, watching everything, absorbing every piece of material. It's not that often, but they will listen to a podcast for the duration of it. Most of them do. So here's some of the stats that you can see there if ever there was a reason. So that's 35% of people listening to the whole episode. Reason number 8. People spend time listening outside of work. So you can connect with them and your message in a very different way because they're not focusing on their work and on their business. So they could be out in the park. They could be taking the dog for a walk. They could be exercising on the treadmill. They're not multitasking generally on a work task. They might be multitasking with exercise, but usually the listener is engaged in a physical activity, which is allowing them to listen to your podcast. And I've had many stories and many instances where people will contact me going, I was listening to your show. I really liked the guest when they talked about this. And I liked the way you talked to the guest about solving that problem, or the way your style, or, sometimes it's about the warmth that I have, because I really do care about the people that I love to work with and I want to see them be successful. So if you can imagine, you have this person, they could be out in nature, hopefully, they could be walking on the beach, they could be out with their dog, but they're generally not with other people. They're listening to your podcast. Or they could be actually doing some work on their laptop, but you are on in the background. And then you are slowly but surely, those nuggets of gold are actually going into their psyche. But mostly people are actually out and about doing a physical activity, doing maybe in nature, like I said, or on the beach. So this is a great way of building a virtual relationship with them before they even get near your website or near your social media platforms. So you can see here, 49% of people listen at home. 22% of people are in their car and their truck. Now, you're watching this is May. The numbers have slightly altered while people aren't commuting anymore on buses and public transport. Like you can see here, 4% of people listen to it. 4% of people listen to working out. 3% walking around, and 7% other. I wonder what the other is. Who knows? I'd love to, if you're one of those other people, drop us a comment in the box. I would love to know what an other is. Trapeze or something. So yeah, it's a really great way of actually figuring out how are you going to get your message across, have a really good conversation. And don't have to be short. These can be quite long. Now, like I said, there's been a bit of a dip at the moment because people aren't commuting, but they will. They'll get back to commuting again, or they'll get out and they'll be walking again, and they're going to want to listen to the podcast of their industry. So they're my 8 reasons. I love this slide so much. It does feel, doesn't it? Everyone's podcasting. Mums at kitchen tables. It is that joke. And I saw something the other day where there was a meme saying, oh, you think there's problems now? Amazon have sold out of podcasting mics. And yes, they did, but not because everyone is doing a podcast. It was because the audio for Zoom is better if you have a microphone closer. So a lot of people who were just doing Zoom videos were buying podcasting mics. So all is not lost. If you actually think it's too late for your business and you're listening to this like, oh, everyone is got a podcast. And the answer, it does feel like that, yes. And yes, Amazon was selling out of microphones, which is funny. But if we actually take a comparison, I'll give you some numbers here about the comparison of websites to podcasting. Let's just dig into this a little bit deeper, right? As of January 1st this year, there were over 1.7 billion websites, right? Versus 800,000 or so podcasts. Now, I'd say since January, there's probably been a few more. However, only 214,000 of those are actually active. And what do we mean by active? Active is that they have more than 14 episodes. Now, if you think of the likes of Joe Rogan, who I think does a podcast every single day, if not most days, to the people that one might do a podcast once a month, there is plenty of space for you and your industry and your business and your podcast. Plenty. Now, why do people start a podcast and not keep it going? There's plenty of reasons. I've actually been digging into this, and as I said, part of what I do is we have a community called Revcasters, which actually helps all sorts of businesses connect with other podcasters, ideas for guests, ideas for shows, ideas for sponsors, ideas for generating revenue. A really great community. You can check it out on Facebook, actually, if you want to do that. So why do podcasts fail is sometimes people don't have a replicable, I always stumble with that word, formula. So it's kind of ad hoc. So like everything in business, you need to have a process like, okay, this is what the show is going to be about. This is how I get guests. So if you think of every aspect of your podcast, it needs a blueprint. It needs a formula. It needs something to be replicated. And even if you do a season, you know, I think I'm into my 3rd season now, 4th one coming up soon. So every season you can change it. So you can do a block. You can do, okay, for 20 episodes, we're going to do a season. And then you can take a break. And then you might need to pivot something. So you have to have a replicable, I think I got that, formula. Another reason podcasts fail is that they're too salesy. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't have sponsors. In fact, Tim Ferriss did an experiment last year where he put a message out to his audience and go, what if you paid for my podcast and I didn't have sponsors? And it turned out that people were very happy to have the sponsors on there because he has sponsors that he uses their products and people like it. Great example is one of the mushroom tea blends that he recommends, Sigma, I think it's called 4 Sigma. And every time he mentions them, they sell out and people love the product. He loves the product. So I think people will put up with sponsorship and tolerate it as long as it's in line and helpful with the brand and the podcast audience, etc. You are too impatient. It's definitely a long game. I mean, if I listen back to the first few episodes of my podcasting, they were, you know, pretty amateur and I'm still working on it. I'm still getting better. It's not a wham bam type of marketing or connected. This is a long game. I hope to be podcasting for many, many years to come. In fact, I've got some other ideas of other podcasts that I want to do. Podcast has opened up guest opportunities for me. Speaking opportunities, who knew I would actually be here with Outliers? The absolute privilege. If you just told me that a year ago, I would have laughed at you. But it will open doors, but you really do have to be patient. You must get the quality right. It's audio, right? If you are adding in the video, that's great, but don't worry too much about the video. Get the audio right. You can't have boring content. So you have to really do the research with your audience about what do they listen to? Why do they listen to that podcast? What are they are curious about? What guests would they like to hear? And really, it is about the guest. A lot of times I hear some podcasts and I can hear the interview talk too much. And look, it's okay to share the odd story here, but the guest is the speaker. They should be speaking at least 75 to 80% of the time, if not right up there in the high 90s. Lack of distribution channels. So a lot of podcasters put their show out on one platform, iTunes. That's it. They just think of one, and that's the end of it. But right now, Spotify is growing a really large following on promotion of podcasts. So we recommend a distribution platform called Buzzsprout, and Buzzsprout actually connects out when you load up the show. It actually sends it out to iTunes, to Stitcher, to Spotify, all these names I didn't know anything about either. So you must think of distribution. And then, like I said about YouTube, like we pick up an average of 30 to 50 listeners per episode on our YouTube channel, listeners that would not have been there before if I didn't post on there. And then you obviously promote on social media. We let everyone know on LinkedIn that our episode is up, and we promote it out on Twitter and on our Facebook page, and then attracts other people who go, oh, I listened to that show, thanks. Or, oh yes, I must go into my podcast app on my phone because I'm going for a walk later and I'll check it out. So distribution channels, you can't just stop at one and think, oh, we've done the job, that's it. You must have a really big why for this. It's so important to have a big why for your podcast, just vital, because it can get tedious, or it could be days where you've got 3 or 4 episodes to do. I really advise getting some help with the editing, unless you're particularly whiz kid at the editing. I'm lucky enough to actually have someone who works for me part-time, and she does the editing for me if I do 1 episode a week or 2 episodes a week. And that means I can just focus on the guest, focus on the audience, focus on the questions, focus on the research, and really make the most of being a good interviewer. I also listen to a lot of podcasts of different types, different styles, and I find myself now listening more to the person asking the questions than I do to the guest. And I go, oh, that's an interesting question. I like what they did there. So that can be really interesting for you, and make it more sort of challenging, and add new questions in, and that's how you can make sure your why is huge, like really big and fat, because those days that are really hard and you've got all those calls to make, you can go, no, I know why I'm doing this. I've got some big goals for my podcast, and that's what keeps me going through it. I think we'll be coming close on 60 episodes on Agency Life soon. Wow. It's a mixture of solo episodes and guests too. Now, I'm going to put a caveat to this. You do not have to start a podcast for your business. It's not essential. Having a website for your business, that is definitely essential, but you don't have to have a podcast for your business. I'm going to tell you why. These are the reasons you not to have one. It's okay. Your competitors are definitely going to launch one. That is 100% sure. You might already have way too much really, really engaging content that converts and attracts visitors and attracts leads, and you've got loads and loads and loads of people coming to your business as it is, because of the content that you have that's super engaging and gets lots of comments and gets lots of likes and gets lots makes the phone ring, right? Gets emails into your business. You are really happy with your network. You do not want to expand your network. You don't want to meet more people. You don't want to be introduced to more people. You're like, I have my network and I'm really happy with it. If you definitely don't need a podcast if your sales pipeline is packed to the rafters and you're like fully happy with, do you know what? We've loads of leads. We're totally fine for sales. You see where I'm going here. If you're not open to new opportunities, like I said, I am standing here, well, sitting here right now. If I was on stage, I'd have been standing there. Next time, right? Next time we'll be doing that. If you were actually having a podcast and you're talking all the time, you get invited to other people's, or guests might come on and go, hey, thanks, that was a great interview. Can you come on mine? But if you're not open to new opportunities, when you have a podcast, it really does open lots of new doors. and if there's no need for new revenue streams. So with the podcast that I have, it's brought new consulting clients to me, new sponsorship opportunities. And like I said, if you get that flick over to YouTube and you've got lots of content over there and you get the numbers up, it could bring ad revenue to you as well. So if you're really happy and all of these things there is no need to have a podcast. However, if you do want to have a podcast, head on over to revcasters.com or come onto the Facebook, join in, share your podcast, ask your questions. Have you any challenges? We're all there to help you. Or you can drop me an email at growitgroup.com. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to know your questions, your thoughts, your feedback. And I want to say a huge big shout out to Ever and the team to say thank you so much for having me on this festival. It's been incredible and I'm looking forward to the next few days. Take care. Bye-bye.